She has saved him. The hands clasped between his knees. He was peacocking. He was in full alpha display mode, the worst toe curling moment. Harry might have moved a long distance away, but he brought with him the ghosts of his past. So how exactly has Harry changed since he met Meghan? Sounds like a simple question, and in many ways, when I'm studying his body language, I would say that clearly she has saved him in a lot of ways. But interestingly enough, and we'll have a look at it, I would also argue that in leaving the royal family and going with Meghan, he's kind of also quite tragically gone full circle. If we look at Harry's body language as a child, we're seeing clearly a happy child. And if we look here, it's just a great example of how she doted on Harry, even though we can see that Harry's got that very playful, rather naughty facial expression that he was famous for. And here we can see William actually already mimicking his father a lot more. His destiny will be along the same path as his father and his grandmother. So the big problem for Harry was, though, he was about to lose everybody that he loved to royal life. So clearly he lost his mother. His father would get more and more hoovered away up into royal life. You've got William that was about to get vacuumed up into the system, becoming a lot more formal, growing away from him. And we saw for many years this wonderfully close relationship between the two, but they were a little bit almost, they'd been brought up a bit like Jedward, you know, they'd been dressed alike, they'd always been together as a double act, they'd been playful together, they mirrored one another to a certain extent. They could both be a little bit boisterous at times, but they were also competing with one another. So we can see the playfulness between them. I mean, that was historically acknowledged, and it was great to watch. And also how tactile they were with each other. I mean, these were two boys that had lost their mother, but to a certain extent, William seemed to step up and almost become a parental influence in Harry's life. The wonderful thing here, the focus of William on Harry, you can see him closely face watching him, you can see him winding him up a bit in terms of having fun. And Harry here, just from his eye expression, we can see that he was enjoying it, he loved it, he did love the double act, but it had got a kind of, the shelf life of this double act was always going to be a little bit curtailed at some point because people grow up. And then suddenly he gets his mic drop moment. He meets Meghan. And Meghan is this beautiful star from America. She kind of leapfrogs a lot of the hierarchy and pecking order in the royal firm. And this is where we can see Harry's body language. I think from the whole of his life so far, this is where he reached what I would call the sweet spot. And this was when Harry took Meghan for the first time in public as an announced couple. He took her to the Invictus Games. Now, that in a way is Harry's personal kingdom. He's so comfortable in Invictus, the people love him there. He's very much the leader there. He's treated a little bit like a rock star when he comes out on stage. So to take his beautiful American girlfriend on a gig like that and to show her off there, and also not just to show her off, but to show himself off, because if we look at Harry's body language, throughout this walk around Invictus, he was peacocking. He had his chest puffed. He was in full alpha display mode. Suddenly he'd gone from being the spare and the son of the family. Suddenly he was showing himself to be very much the man, very much the alpha male, looking absolutely delighted with himself in a way that I've not really seen since then. So with Harry, we can see the hands clasped between his knees. If we look at his knees, they're fully splayed, which is very much a sign of the confident alpha. if we look at his facial expression here, I know we can't see his eyes, but he's being very cool with the shades here. But his mouth smile, again, it's symmetric. It's a Duchenne smile, which means that it's genuine, it's not forced. He just looks completely at ease and very happy to be the grown man and not the spare. Now, how Meghan complements this, and their relationship fluctuates a lot in terms of complementary signals, but here it was fully complementary, because despite being this very confident actress, she's actually making herself look a little bit more vulnerable. She's allowing herself to be hosted by Harry, who's showing her around, and she's using what's called a broken wing gesture. Now, that's the term that we use when somebody has got their wrist bent. It's something that celebrities do a lot. It's a kind of, I'm really special, but also I'm used to being ushered around and shown around. The broken wing clearly, technically, is a sign of vulnerability, but it's an affected vulnerability in terms of, yeah, I'm not trying to assert myself here, and I'm allowing you to actually take the lead and show me around. She's also got the legs are crossed, so she's got closed body language in contrast to Harry's big old alpha splay, and the legs are crossed towards Harry as well, showing that that's who she belongs to. Her smile is also symmetric, but again, just a little bit tinged with a bit of coyness, and again, that flatters Harry's ego. So this outing for the pair of them, even to the way that she was wearing the ripped jeans, what a great kind of anti-traditional royal statement that I found a girl that wears a boyfriend's shirt and ripped jeans. Yabu sucks, you know, you can keep your old ermine that's got mothballs in it, because we're the cool kids of the royal firm. So what happened to Harry's sweet spot once we got to the engagement? Now, clearly, Harry is ecstatically happy at the engagement, but maybe he didn't tell his face that. And we began to see a sea change in the power dynamics of their body language. Again, if we look at Meghan here, her back is arched, she's got a lovely, sweet, coy smile. We've got a little baby wave here, so the hand is held up in a rather sweet, hello UK, and it's quite cute. She's kind of lowering her own status here to a certain extent. Harry's hand, if you can see, is even lower though, which is almost a stop gesture. It's a little bit of, okay, that's enough. So what we then began to see, because Harry suddenly went back into, almost back in the UK, going back into that almost childlike state again. And what we then saw was a change. If you looked at Meghan's body language rituals during the engagement photo shoot, she had Harry's hand in both of hers, she was holding his arm, and that did look, to the naked eye, rather vulnerable. But when you look more closely at the body language, she was using little soothing strokes, little pats, little movements of reassurance. So what she was doing was, she's the Hollywood celebrity that's used to the camera, not only used to the camera, probably spent a lot of her life trying to get that kind of camera attention. And so what she's doing is she's taking almost, even at that stage, there's an element of a maternal body language starting here. She's soothing him, she's reassuring him, she's stroking him. And also we saw the introduction of something that is much more exaggerated now. We began to see what are called tie signs. Now, tie signs are what a couple use. They're little taps, little squeezes of the hand that couples use to help to choreograph and direct each other when they're in public. And Meghan, I noticed, seemed to be the one that was leading Harry. There was a small pat on the hand to say, right, I think we're finished now. And she led him away and put almost a maternal pat on his back. So already we could see that very much her experience as a Hollywood star and her superior confidence was coming into play. And we were beginning to see already a bit of a status and power shift between the two. In the early days, this first outing on Christmas Day, we can see that there's a degree of mirroring here. We can see all of their heads turned in the same way. We can see the Duchenne smiles on display. What we didn't notice was that maybe the two brothers were not particularly happy together, but nobody actually thought that was possible, because if anybody was going to fall out, it had to be the women, because that's what women do, and forget women's lib, etc. You know, it's got to be them, it can't be the two men. But at this point, this was a kind of holding point. I think holding your breath point, in actual fact, would be what you would call it. And then we begin to see much more of an obvious deterioration. So we've got the same outing, it's Christmas Day again, but we've got a certain spatial separation between the two couples. We've got Meghan holding on to Harry's arm. Meghan's even, if we can see, she's got the bag that she's holding in front of herself, maybe feeling a little bit threatened here, clinging to Harry's arm. And we begin to see Richter's smiles. Those smiles do not look genuine. There's too much effort put into those smiles. Clearly they look as though they've come from directions that you need to look as though you're playing happily together. We've got to destroy all the rumours about the fact that there are rifts going on here. And then clearly the worst toe-curling moment, which was the Commonwealth service. And this was shocking to watch. Harry and Meghan turning up. It was their last official appearance in the UK. And Harry was in full haunted facial expression mode here. We can see he's not even going to play act anymore. If we look at Meghan's face, we can see that she's an actress. I think she probably pulled on everything from her acting career here. And she did produce that kind of stoic royal smile. I think she managed to keep that smile going throughout the service. It was very polite. But the pressure, I mean, William's face, I've never seen William's facial expression like this before. He looks as though he's about to play a trumpet or something. Cheeks are puffed out, lips are clamped in there. Again, so much effort. And when did we ever see Kate not smiling? I mean, at that point, I don't think I'd ever seen that before. Kate had got this wonderfully permanent, beautiful, and actually very congruent looking royal smile that was one of her huge strengths as a royal. And when she turned up here, I almost didn't recognise her, but the smile had gone. And this is the point, clearly, when we began to see that Sophie was being called in as a buffer. Harry and Meghan pretty much got cut by the rest of the royals. And this was, if we've had Harry's sweet spot, this has got to be the worst one of the lot. This has got to be very much a low point, perhaps the lowest point emotionally for him, and not being hidden anymore by his body language. Clearly, the other time that we saw Harry at his happiest in the UK was after the birth of his first baby. And what a revelation when the pair of them walked out, because I think a lot of women were cheering, because it was very much down a feminist route that this was a royal male that was going to carry his own baby, rather than his father, who kind of looked like the babies were made of like Ming vases and wore a suit and didn't really know what to do with them. But no, what we got in this very long walk towards the cameras was Harry, and this smile. I mean, we can see not just the rounding of the cheeks, but the cheeks are raised up as well. I mean, he is stupidly happy, and I don't mean he's being stupid, but he's in that kind of stupid stage of happiness where he's probably walking on air, he's holding his child. He's no longer the son, he's now a dad, and I think that's very important, that this officially has moved him out of being the royal family's son, the child that almost got left behind, and now he's got his own child, so he is now a parent, he is a father. His role has moved not just to husband, but to father as well. So I think for Harry, that was a huge move up the kind of family and emotional hierarchy that he absolutely adored. Meghan, Here, interestingly enough, instead of coming out looking like a fragile woman that's just given birth, she was very much presenting her two boys here. And so maybe that was also complementary to Harry, because not only had he become a dad, but he'd also not moved too far from the son and child role either. We can see he's clutching the baby, but her arm is around his. She was the one that was leaning over both of them. She was the one that, as they walked away, again, she put that hand on Harry's back as though to say, well done. And we thought, hang on, he didn't give birth, you know, what's the well done about? But I think it was well done because she probably changed many centuries of royal male behaviour, not William, but many centuries of royal male behaviour when it comes to a baby, you know, you carried it yourself. And I think perhaps for Harry, that gave him the thought that I'm not just a father now, but I can still be with my wife, who might also supply some maternal support for me as well. However, and I said that it was always complex, in amongst all of this glory that Harry's got in America and the blissful life, and the genuine happiness, you know, he's clearly genuinely a man who's in love and loves his family, etc. Absolutely adores the barefoot symbolism of being able to run through the grass. I'm sure he could have done that in the UK, but it seems that he only picked up on that option when he got to America. His kids can ride bikes. I think they could do that in the UK as well. But again, that symbolism, hugely important for him. But in amongst it all, we've been getting this haunted look coming back again. And that's why I say that Harry might have moved a long distance away, but he kind of brought with him the ghosts of his past. In terms of Diana, he stated at one of the Invictus Games promos that he did that my brothers had our mother in the UK while he was bringing up the children and everything, but now I've got my own family. It's my turn, as though there was a kind of timeshare on Diana going on, but it showed the tragedy of how, in a way, he felt that he could take Diana out there with him as well, almost as somebody, sort of fairy godmother in a lot of ways. But there's so much resentment and the ghosts of the past. I think that we are seeing a lot of this look from Harry now, and just in the eye expression, this is not the playful Harry that were kind of force-fed when he was young. This is a reflective man. This is a man that, if we look at that mouth clamp, it's almost a clown-like face of tragedy when he reflects on the things that he doesn't like in his life, the resentments, the things that he feels that he'd been cheated on, the things that maybe he should have left at customs when he got to the US, but instead of that, he's very much carried maybe on his back, I don't know, or clutching them to his chest, but he hasn't really seemed to be able to let them drop.